welcome back to my channel. Crochet with LJ here, and today I want to talk about how you should be pricing your crochet, because it's not up to anybody else but you to determine the value of your work. First thing you should consider when pricing your crochet is where you're at in your craft. Are you a hobbyist? Are you new to the craft? Are you still learning? Are you maybe just trying to make enough money to buy more yarn and support your hobby? Or are you trying to run an actual business, make a profit, and support yourself as a human being in this world? You're probably going to be pricing in two different zones, and that's just depending on where you're at. Also, where you're physically at. I'm in California. Minimum wage here is $16 an hour, and that's not enough to pay rent. So, second thing to consider is, what is your skill level? It doesn't matter how long you've been crocheting. I've seen people advance very quickly, and I've also seen people not really get past intermediate even after years of work. So, but that's up to you to decide, right? Do you feel like you're a beginner? Do you feel like you're intermediate? Are you advanced? How technical is the pattern you're working on? How complicated is it? You can charge more for these items that are more technically advanced because it took you a certain amount of time to get up to that skill level. I've seen some people on the internet suggest that a good pricing method is 3 times the cost of materials. Now, I don't know where this came from, but ask yourself, is 3 times materials worth it for you? Say you make a beanie. Ding! This beanie cost me about $7 to make. $6 in yarn, because look at this gorgeous acrylic yarn by Serdar, and $1 for the pom-pom. Now, 7 times 3 is $21. Am I charging $21 for this beanie? Is that worth it for me? Because it's not worth it for me to take home $14 of profit for the 2.5-3 hours that this takes. And like, look, this is like a 2-layer pattern. So it's taking up a lot of time and a lot of yarn to make. It's also called the Alpine Beanie, and it's featured on my YouTube channel as a tutorial, just FYI. I'll leave a link in that description. But yeah, $21 is not enough for me. So I charge $20 an hour minimum, and this hat costs $65. And that might sound crazy to you, but it's not that crazy if you live in California and are paying $6 a gallon for gas. I mean, the cost of living is higher here, and the wages are higher here. And people here know that something handmade, quality project by a person who is trying to support themselves, that it's worth it. And if that's not worth it to your customer, then it's not worth my time to even do it in the first place. And I'm not going to sell to that person. So ask yourself, how much is your time worth? Where are you at? What is the minimum wage in the state that you live in? You know, how much is your time plus materials worth? For beginners and hobbyists, maybe this 3 times materials method works. Maybe try 4 times materials, maybe try 5 times materials, do some math, see what works for you. And don't forget, you can always change your prices as you get better and faster and start doing more advanced projects. Another important factor when pricing your crochet is the level of creativity in your work. Do you have a unique product that no one else is selling? Supply and demand, right? If there's low supply and you have a truly unique product, you can charge more for it. If you are creating something that might, the market might be saturated with, it's going to be harder to sell that product, and you might feel like you need to lower your price in order to compete with others. So even if you're working from other people's patterns and you're not necessarily designing your own, that's okay. Try to put your own creative spin on it so that your product is just a little more unique than what else is out there. Now let's say you're trying to price for a full-size cardigan. Check out my Hexie cardigan. These are so trendy right now, and if you've ever made one, you know they take forever to make. I also have a YouTube tutorial for the Hexie cardigan, so check that out. Although I did add this lace afterwards. It's just a long chain that I literally just laced through, and because it looks super cute and it's closed. And this took me at least 10 hours to make, and I'm not taking less than $200 for it. And you know what? That's just where I'm at. It's not even worth for me to make at all for less than that. And if somebody doesn't want to pay that, fine. I'm just going to wear it myself and rock it and show it off, because I value my own work. And you know, if you only want to charge whatever your materials cost, like this is probably $40 in yarn, and if you just want to get that 40 bucks so that you can make another sweater, then fine, sell it for that. As long as it works for you. This is the most important thing. I'm going to keep saying it. If the price works for you, then that's great. It doesn't matter if it works for your customer or not, because it's you that determine your value. That's a great life lesson in general. Another important thing to consider when pricing your crochet is how and where you're selling. Are you selling online? Are you selling on Etsy? Are you paying for a website, listing fee, transaction fee, credit card swiping fee, and shipping? Because all of those things add up. And at the end of the day, if you're not making money, then you're not charging enough. And it's that simple. So many people are quick to blame Etsy for their fees and that they didn't make any money, when in reality, if you're trying to run a business and make money, it's up to you to calculate what those fees and shipping are going to cost you so that you are making money. You have to do some homework here. Same if you're selling at a craft fair and there's a booth fee. Maybe you make investments in tables, tablecloths, signage, displays. All of that needs to be factored in as an overhead charge when calculating your price. So for example, you need to be charging materials fee, an hourly rate depending on what you decide your hourly is, and 10% overhead for the cost of doing business. Now, if you're selling as a hobbyist and you're selling to your friend and they're paying cash and maybe they're picking up, great, charge less. Because at that point, it's a convenience thing, you know? How much are you investing just to sell? There is a cost of doing business that you need to incorporate. And if you're just a hobbyist, you don't need to worry about that. Just charge whatever you want. It's all about you determining what's worth it for you. Maybe you want to give something away to your friend, someone you love. Do that. Don't charge anything. You know, if somebody loves something and they want it and you just want to get rid of it, give it to them. Like, it's all about what you think it's worth and what you need to make. And if you're trying to make a living, or if you're just trying to buy yarn, or if you're just trying to give stuff away. What you should not do when pricing your crochet is compare yourself to department store prices. Now, you will probably get a customer, you know, at some point that's like, oh, you want $60 for that? Oh, I could get it for $25 at Walmart. Guess what? They can go to Walmart and buy their $25 hat if that's where they're at financially. That shouldn't determine how much you charge and how much you're worth, because stuff in department stores is made by people overseas for like 50 cents an hour, and you just can't compare yourself to that. If somebody wants a mass-produced item like that, then they can go get that. If they want a quality product made by somebody in the US, it's going to cost more, and that's just how it is. I don't sell my products online, not physical products online anyway, because I can't compete with what other people charge. And that's the reality for me. So I sell local markets to people who are local that understand the cost of living here is higher and are willing to pay that. I also sell my patterns online, and that is another great way to make money if you're in the crochet business, is to start creating and writing and selling your patterns, because that's passive income, which is great. And people buy patterns, and you don't need to sell patterns for that much because it's passive, and once it's done, it doesn't take you any more work really. So consider that as another option. If you're really trying to make money and start a business, that pattern selling is a great way to make money. What if you're creating a custom item for somebody? How do you price that? It's important that you give an estimated price right off the bat, and it's important that you shoot high, because it's gonna take you longer than you think it will. It always does. If you're doing something custom that maybe there isn't a pattern for, it's gonna take longer to troubleshoot some things to make it just as that person wants. And maybe you mess up. Maybe you have to undo some parts. Maybe you have to, do some troubleshooting, which you inevitably will when doing custom projects, and you'll need to charge more for these things. And it's important that you're clear with your customer that things are going to take longer and cost more for this type of thing. Be sure you're also charging some kind of down payment or deposit on custom orders, if not the full amount straight up, just to do it. Because, you might not know what the full price costs, because like I said, it will take you longer than you think, and you might want to charge more at the end. And you know what? You don't want to lose money when your customer decides, oh, actually, I can't afford that. And suddenly you're at a loss for the materials you already paid for, and maybe the time too. So it's important that you at least collect money for your materials and maybe some of your time to get started on the project and go from there. Maybe update your customer when you're like, hey, it's taking this long, I'm gonna have to be charging this much. Make sure it still works for them. You know, a little bit of customer service here is key too. It's okay to say no to a custom order. Like if somebody wants a blanket and they want it for $100, just say no. Like it's gonna cost you $50 in yarn just to make it, plus countless hours. And you don't have to say yes. Like, no. Sometimes you gotta say no to others to say yes to yourself. Don't let others tell you how to price your own work. Not potential customers, not your family members, not even other crocheters. I see other crocheters and handcrafters devalue their own work all the time, and I'm guilty of this too. I've sold something for less than what I knew it was worth just because, you know, I needed the money that bad, and that's, you know, sometimes where we're at, and that's okay. But ultimately, it is up to you to decide your own value. So how much should you be charging for your crochet projects? I hope I've given you some insight as to how you should determine what you should charge. I'm not throwing out like exact numbers here because everyone's situation is different. People are at different skill levels, at different places in their life, and some people are just doing a hobby, some people are trying to run a business, and all those things are going to factor in. Also, keep in mind that we live in a hyper-inflated society right now, and the cost of everything is going up, and it's getting tough to survive out there. The cost of handmade goods should not be exempt from the rates of inflation going up. Everyone should raise their prices. If you have not already in the past couple of years, you need to be charging more because life just costs more. Yarn costs more, your time costs more, cost of business is more. And if people don't raise their prices, we're just gonna be making less money and continue to devalue our own work. So charge what you need to be charging in order to keep your business or hobby afloat in an inflated society. You don't see corporations lowering their price to accommodate everyone's budget. That's not how business works. It's not how a hobby should work either. You need to value yourself. And if you want to charge $10 for a beanie, like I said, if that works for you, great. But like keep in mind, it's kind of undervaluing the craft. And if everyone's underpricing, like the overall expectation from the consumer is that that's what it's worth. So if you want others to value your work, it starts with you valuing yourself first. So know your worth. Know that you're special and you're doing a very time-consuming and skilled craft that costs money. And it's gonna be more money than some people can afford, and that's how it is, and you are worth it. Bam! I hope you liked my advice, everybody. Let me know what you think below in the comments. Like this video and subscribe to my channel and stay up to date on all my newest projects.